I remember waking up and I hear this really loud noise in my bathroom and a lot of gurgling of water. And then the next thing I know is that I open the door and there's a trunk of an elephant. The elephant freaked out and I freaked out too. We just stood there for a moment, looked at each other. This being is acknowledging my presence as he stood there and probably was thinking, well, when do I get my next drink? My name is Vijo Verghese and I am the co-founder of Our Land, Thailand. Our Land is an organization working on expanding wild spaces and improving human-wildlife coexistence through collaborative environmental stewardships. We run an EcoVillage, we run the Our Land Nature Reserve. We also run a nature and sustainability education center, which I would believe is the heart of it all as we work with people coming through to learn about being in nature and being closer to nature. Since I was 1 year old, I grew up in Thailand. I grew up on the very outskirts of Bangkok where there were little bits of jungle, and that's where I used to play around. But as the years went by, I was working in an automotive company. I struggled to find good mental health and good meaning in life. I would spend as much as time possible on the weekends outside of the city. Eventually, we ended up renting out a plot of land. That was the beginning of Our Land. We need to find a way to coexist with nature. As our populations rise, as wild spaces shrink, we will bump up against nature. And we need to find a way that we can be comfortable in their space and also safe at the same time. The EcoVillage, this has been my home for the past 6 years. The 4 pillars of self-sufficiency of the Our Land EcoVillage are having food, water, shelter, and energy. The first thing we started off with was figuring out energy. Solar power was one of the ways to go for us right from the beginning. Most of the water that we use in Our Land for about 6 to 8 months of the year is rainwater harvested. The shelter, we started off with bamboo construction, and over time we realized that one of the best forms of construction for us was mud house construction. We just use the soil that is beneath our feet. The hardest part has always been food, because we have wild elephants that move from the wildlife sanctuary nearby and come through Our Land. As they come through, they do find some of our food that we were growing in the past. For this reason, we've moved food production outside of the Our Land Reserve. Keystone Species is a very important species in the ecosystem. If you remove the Keystone Species from the ecosystem, several other species will suffer from that. In our case, the Keystone Species is the Asian elephant.
This tree and potentially that one over there, these were both probably pushed down by an elephant. But this is actually one of the really important ecosystem services that elephants provide. When they push down a large tree like this, they also produce a light gap in the forest. And that gives other plants, especially slower growing plants, some of which are endangered, a chance to really make their stake in the forest. But a lot of the things that elephants do serves a larger, greater purpose in the forest.
The area that we're in is really infamous for human-wildlife conflict, especially human-elephant conflict. The elephant population in Salak Pra is increasing, but the land is not. And so the elephants are very often coming out of the sanctuary to forage for food and to go drink water from the river. And in order to do that, they're coming into contact with farmers and they're having to cross the road, which means that both people and elephants are dying. The farmers are growing mainly sugarcane, corn, and cassava. And just like us, elephants have a sweet tooth. And so, in a very significant way, a new business model just needs to be more profitable than sugarcane.
We start telling the local people, hey, would you be interested in planting citronella, lemongrass? Would you be interested in planting ginger or lime or kaffir lime? All the things that elephants don't necessarily like to eat. This was the first step towards moving in a direction of, okay, how do we generate revenue by keeping nature intact?
At Our Land, education is really the core of what we do. It's the method by which we achieve the mission of conservation, of coexistence.
This area is a microcosm of so many of the global environmental issues that these kids are going to face. So when they come here, they learn about human-wildlife conflict, sustainable development, sustainable materials, water and waste management, so many different things that aren't just at play here, but are also impacting their environments back home.
The next generation is a little bit more distant from nature. They seem to have this kind of, nature is icky. We always encourage children to create that actual connection with nature so that they can look within themselves and find a sense of calm in any environment and use nature as a tool for enhancing themselves.